Going. So today I just wanted to go over a quick little spreadsheet that I made for Lost Crusade, just as a kind of ease of use. Because for one of the things that I found that I personally have a struggle with in this game is knowing what abilities and what hero combinations you can use for your armies when you're attacking other players. Now, I can tell you straight away, a lot of this information that I'm going to give you in a spreadsheet here is nothing more than what you can readily get yourself just by going to this, clicking, tapping, whatever it may be, and just going over and over and over looking at this data, right? But ultimately, I was hoping for kind of something that would be a little easier to use so you can just point blank look at what heroes that you need to grab for whatever it is that you may be doing at the time. So, for example, right, let's say I want to use Lysander. At a glance, you really wouldn't know if, let's say, hey, I want to know what hero bonuses I'll get. Well, like Lysander, Garradon, and Cantor, like in my server, you don't even have Garradon. Okay, so Garradon's not even an option. He's not even a feature. He's not there yet. So when I see Garradon or even Agaton, for example, they're not applicable. So this guide isn't completely, how do you say, it's not going to be completely useful for everybody, but hopefully it will cover anybody that's in the server 66, maybe some servers below me, maybe some servers above me. But of course, it's kind of more of an ease of use of anything. Now, hopefully with some luck, you guys will find it useful. And, I'm sure there's probably somebody out there that might have already done it, but I was having a hard time finding it. So I just kind of made it easy for myself. Now, something that I personally thought would kind of help you guys out is, with when it comes to heroes in particular, at a glance, you'll see like heroes like Shrike, Seth, Urticus, Carius, Lysander, Telion, Cronus, Maya, Calgar, Cantor, and Carsaro being your legendary heroes. It goes without saying that obviously if you don't have these guys at tier 5 or higher, meaning that their star level isn't already at 5, they're militarily not as useful as someone that is like tier 10. And it really goes to show that, like, when it comes to hero grade, you want to be very, 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 if anything, specific with it. Like in the case of Alastor and Lysander, for example, they're really good defensive heroes. And the reason being is because in the case of Alastor and Lysander, they have rebound in the case of Alastor, and then in Lysander's case, he has counterattack, which in defensive use is absolutely fantastic to have. Now, in the event that, let's say, you want to go attacking somebody, well, like Maya and, I point out Maya because she actually takes away a debuff. It's kind of interesting. And the fact that she'll actually give a debuff and then she'll remove a buff from them. And then, if you take that in tandem with someone like, well, like, for example, Urnica, where, you're causing another debuff, or maybe you decide that you want to use Cronus, well, there's another debuff. It depends on what strategy you want to go with. Obviously, every hero is going to bonus a certain type of army too, and that has to be considered. But if you wanted to really quickly look at that and know what heroes are giving debuffs, what heroes are going to give damage reduction, what heroes are going to go, that is really what I was aiming with this spreadsheet in mind, because at a glance, I would struggle going, well, I don't know, which heroes have unique abilities? Like, at a glance right now, I can tell you that Adremus is one of them, Alastor is another, I believe Lysander and also Cantor and Calgar. There's a couple of abilities that do show up more than once, but like Seth is a notable one. And when I say this is, I really should be saying like they're unique in the fact that their ability is only applicable to them and not any other heroes at this time. That isn't to say that Agaton and Garradon maybe they've got the ability repeated. I'm not sure. Because again, I'm kind of limited by what I have access to at this time. That said, of course, if you were just starting, I would say, your for a lot of the free-to-play players and any of the people that are just starting out, obviously your blue tier heroes are going to be your gathering heroes, and they're also probably going to be the ones that you're going to have most use out of. And then your purple tiers are going to be the ones you're going to want to be way more specific with. And namely, I think, when it comes to this, I would say Vex, Kalo, and Sicario are kind of a, or even Cordis and Elastor and Tycho. Like, when we're talking purple heroes in particular, I would say Adremus is unique in the fact that he's giving you an actual, you'll notice in his ability here, it's going to remove a debuff. It's not as applicable, though, if, let's say, you use that with, Rebound, where it's like, okay, yeah, you could have a rebound ability, but in an attack like that, I don't know. I don't see that being as useful as, let's say I take into consideration, okay, Vex is Vanguard, right? If I take Vex and then I put him in tandem with, say, I don't know, matching the abilities alongside with what they're capable of is a pretty crucial thing. Notably, you'll notice that, with the blue tier heroes, you don't actually have that many options when it comes to Vanguard. You're just kind of limited to what you have. So, Alvinius is Whirlwinds, Sicaria's Whirlwinds, Kalo and Omnius are Dreadnoughts, and then, of course, Praetus and Tycho are Predators. And then I believe Cordis is another Primaris hero that can go right alongside Solaris. And then Elastor is the only Vanguard alongside Vex. So it's not that you don't have two heroes for every type, but it's only until you get to legendary heroes that then you have a third option. So Shrike would be your third, or Seth could be, your third, and so forth, right? So that's really about where I see the bonuses kind of trickle in, just depending on where you're at in the game. Now, of course, with that in mind, I don't know if any of you guys have ever felt like you're underwhelmed in terms of what the game has to offer. I know some people, they complain about the pay to win side of it, or they'll, there's always some gripe that people have for the game. Of course, about a week, maybe not even that, 2 weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, I don't know, it's been a while, but there was a point where we actually, believe it or not, someone in GRK, I'm not going to name who, but I know who they are, alright, discovered an ability where essentially what was going on was that if, let's suppose, everybody in an alliance were to just throw in their knight, there was this strange phenomena that was uncovered where essentially what was happening is, let's suppose you go over here and you want to attack somebody that's 5 times your size, and they're a super uber pay to win player. They're bigger than most whales, they're maybe the top 10 players. Well, for a little while, if you were to rally somebody, right, and let's say you sent in your knight, but then 19 other people did, well, what was uncovered was what was happening is the Stormhammer or the Stugger, it's essentially its enemy debuff was stacking. So you could limit a tier 9 unit down to 1 HP. You could cut down their HP to the point where it was all the way to the bottom, which means that somebody could be sending tier 1s, tier 2s, and tier 3s and wiping out tier 8, tier 9 units with ease. And of course, when you have entire groups of people, that can be pretty deadly, especially if you've got multiple knights in the army. And that's really the only way it was going to apply. Now, of course, since then, I believe it's been patched, so that's no longer applicable, but it just gives you an idea of just kind of some of the small exploits and bugs that, people are kind of coming across in the game. And so when it comes to these abilities and really getting to know what those abilities do, for example, one should probably point out that dodge does not stack. That is not something, you don't get dodge 10% and then another hero 10%, so it's 20. That's not how that works. Every hero, as it's going through, is getting that debuff or that dodge used on that one hero rather than it being a flat whole. Okay, so for example, if you want to know, just click on the little camera icon at the top, and you could actually watch the battle as it goes on, right? And you can kind of get an idea of just what exactly is happening between both your armies and also the people that join your army. So like here I can see, Seth dodge chance increased by 10%. It increased by 7.92%. And then dodge effect took place, so he avoided damage. Like it's all here. You can see it very clear as day, but obviously if you haven't gone through here and paid any attention to it, this is where a lot of that's taken care of. As you might imagine, some people have, from the early days of when some people were uploading videos, had asked, okay, should I be using level 1 dreadnoughts, and whether or not should I be actually sending like stupid tiny amounts of troops, right? Now, to answer that question, I mean, if you're going to rally somebody, and let's say they got 60 to 70,000 troops, for example, the thing about armies in this game is it's not much different than like a lot of other games in this genre. If you're going to send the weakest form of troop, they're going to die faster, and thereby, you're not really saving yourself when you're sending it against, say, T6 or G7 troops. So you tend to want to match the highest tier that you have at hand against whatever it is that you're throwing at. Now, that sounds counterintuitive because a lot of people that do play this game, you're trying to be cost efficient while you're at it. But if you're going to be cost efficient and attacking somebody at the same time, I just hope you realize that, if you're going to go attack somebody with 70,000 troops, being cost efficient may not be such a good idea. For reasons I'll explain. That said, if you're going to go ahead and you're going to be cost efficient, I would just recommend that, one, you got to have, whatever attack you're going to be using. If you really want to be cost efficient, in the actual guide of the spreadsheet that I have, I've got something called calculation in there, and you'll see it when you first pull it up. All right. And the main thing with calculation is, what exactly is it that you're hitting? If you want to be cost efficient and you want to attack somebody, be mindful of what it is that you're actually attacking, okay? Like, for example, all right, if you go into the details and you attack somebody and you look and check your defense here and you see that, he's got mostly vanguards, mostly dreadnoughts, or mostly of whatever unit type is in there, then it is more cost efficient rather than send the units that it's going to get countered by. For example, somebody could potentially send, say, they've got a ton of whirlwinds in there, right? So the last thing you want to send is Primaris, okay? I believe it or not, there are people out there that will do it, but you want to be sending Predators in that event, right? The same applies if, let's say, you see Dreadnoughts. Well, chances are you probably just need Vanguards, okay? You don't need to add 3 or 4 different unit types into the mix. There's no reason to, okay? Even if there's like maybe say a few thousand T1s, believe me, you don't really need to go overkill on your unit type. So it's important that you be very mindful of this when you're attacking somebody. Because if you want to be able to be cost efficient in that regard, then that's what I recommend you do. That said, of course, when it comes to the game in general, all right, I can say with some certainty that there's a lot of other factors that are at play. Like, for example, I've noticed that people were kind of confused as to how rally size works in the game. And if you're really confused, okay, just take the navigator's quarters that you've got, right, which is whatever rally limit you have. So take 25K, and then go to your chapter headquarters and take that in tandem with it, okay? So like here, if I add 25,000 to 2,500 plus 120, okay, that gives you an idea of what that rally limit is. Obviously, you're also going to have to probably take into consideration of the army limit or army size increase that you're getting with your heroes as well. But once you throw those all together and add them in, that tells you what your total rally size is. In the case of reinforcing somebody, or rather, what that is, I mean, obviously, when it comes to reinforcement limit, that's going to be limited by both the limit that is in your astropathic relay, right? And then you also want to be very mindful of the fact that There are, in fact, a few things that you want to notice inside your alliance as well. So if you go into tech contribution, go to war tech, and then you scroll down a bit, you'll notice that there are also bonuses in terms of different stats and such in here that you want to be very mindful of. But there's also, like in development tech, there's an increase to your reinforcement limit that, that is in fact what that is that's what that changes. The rally queues can be adjusted in development tech. You can reduce transport tax, legion limits. Obviously, the number of players that can alliance and garrison you is affected in here. And the alliance garrison forces that's being adjusted and garrison is also being done in here. Now, you might be a little conflicted, wondering what exactly is the difference between, say, somebody that has both the increase to the number of troops that can be garrisoned and then the amount of players that can garrison, and then the reinforcement limit. And the thing that I've noticed with this is that, like in the case of this, the garrison is just more or less referring to that. But when it's, if you really think about it, I mean, garrison can also imply like, okay, now what if I'm not just garrisoning a player? What if I'm garrisoning the alliance headquarters, for example? Well, okay, that's a completely different thing to consider, but it is also in the garrison troops count and the total number of players. And I believe that's what that adjusts. And so it's just something you need to kind of wrap your mind around a little bit. If that makes any sense, you just have to be able to decipher what exactly does what. Something else, just another tidbit of information in case you didn't know, right, is domain tax only applies if it is resources being gathered in your domain. It does not apply if, let's say, someone from an enemy guild is in your garrison territory and they're gathering outside of your alliance territory. You don't get taxes for people that are in your territory that are not from your alliance. The only time you're going to collect a tax is if they're gathering the actual resource nodes in your domain. Outside of that, though, that's pretty much a sprinkle of knowledge that I have for you guys. I hope you guys found the video helpful, and I will see you guys to the next video.